The Rise of Jefferson comes to Amazon June 4, in time for a red, white, and blue Father's Day on June 21.
First shot is up here in the pond, the old quarry up at the old George Shannon place. The ducks having their fun there, swimming around in the old quarry pond. Then there's a car under the viaduct here, like it used to do every time we had a heavy rain. It belonged to Hank Cook. His boy Ralph was driving it, and I think Marge Carter was with him. They put a plank in the window and they climbed out, and then they had Louis Cashman back the semi down in there, and you'll see how they hook onto it to pull it out. They tied the rope around the window post, and it didn't hold. They had to rehook, and second time out we come. And Marge Carter standing there, I think she's one that was in it. Fred Pierce back there, I think. Town bought a new fire truck. That's Ed Richmond there. George Shannon you saw in the background. That's Frank Pencil, Clem Cashman, Frankie Ruska. I don't know if they're having a trial run there or whether they're having a fire there, but that's Gerald Bowmaster. Fred Pierce there running the hose. Abe Coslin. They're putting in the bridge, I think, out west of town, if I remember right, out by the Hart Place. It was all handwork in those days. You'll see the guys there trawling the cement. That's Ed McAvoy in front here, Louis Cashman sitting behind there. This is the ball game we had down here. Herb Borg there, standing there, he was the first base umpire. You'll notice Herm Lammers is pitching. Louis Cashman was the big guy that walked by there. My brother Barney on first base. I'm not sure who we were playing. Foul ball looks like Barney's going to run it down. And Louis Cashman, he was the long ball hitter. Looks like he give one a ride there, and he'll trot around the bases. There's Herm in his pitching form there. And Knox Tierney there. That's me, number 13. Herm had a little trouble there. Looks like he might have struck out. That's my brother Barney there, and the second baseman gets in his way. He has to get him out of the way to get around there. There's Herm Lammers. Curtis Sullivan going to second. Coming in from third there all the time. The guy was fouling the ball off and kept coming in. We didn't score that many runs. Louis Cashman. That was Knox that just scored. Curly Sullivan. Another fire going there someplace. Bob Galligan standing there. Jim King behind him, Louis Kubisky there. Dave Coslin putting the ladders back on, fires out. Bob Conway. Don Warner around town here, he bought a drag line someplace. They shipped it in on the rail. They loaded it over here on the unloading dock that was back of the old oil station here that Simon has now. They're having a little problem getting it squared around there to get it off of the car. They're about ready to go now. And there we go. They forgot to check the brakes. And there it ends up. That's my brother-in-law Lindy Kubisky's car, and the boom sit right on top. Tom Kelly and Ralph Hopkins picking up scrap during World War II. Send all the iron and everything in for defense. There's a pickup laying on its side. I think it belonged to Lindy. I'm not sure. He had one for a while. I'm not sure whether that's his car or not, but it Murray, John Kane, Joe Rhodey. Lyle Hart was the cowboy, okay. There's Charles Garman and Mildred Bartlett, I think. And that's my dad. They're having a sale up at the Equity there in the spring of the year. You got Earl Hayden there. Then Cashman, he's going to get some relief. Herb Borg, Walt Fair. They turned down the old light plant up here that sat up north of the water tower ways. Jack Aldoff there, local blacksmith, they got cutting torch. See how thick the boiler plate was there. It must have been a good inch thick anyway. There's one of the first tractor corn pickers here, a fellow by the name of Pierce. Had it out here. I think it was on Butch Hart's place. He worked that for a few years. And the Andera Construction Company from Protevan, they were doing some road grading here. I'm not just sure where it was. In those days they didn't have much tire trouble. You can look at the machinery there, the steel tracks on the cat and the steel wheels on the dirt movers. Nora and Bob Stapleton the day of their wedding up at the old IC church. They have relatives there, I'm not sure of all of them. One of them was Lorraine Stapleton, Lorraine Hayden now. That's Dick Conway sneaking into the picture. Betty Stapleton standing in the background. Nora and Bob. There's Jim and Loretta Stapleton with Nora and Bob and Pete and Mamie Kelly, Nora's folks. This was, I think, at Christmas time. It looks like Santa Claus in the background there. It's in front of the old theater over on the west side. A lot of these kids, I mean, they've changed over 50 years, and as you can see, we'll be able to name some of them, but we can't name all of them. That's Joe Ott going down the street. He was worked for Earl Hayden. There's Ray Reinhardt standing there, it looked like. And you people that happen to be seeing this, if you're in there, maybe you can pick yourselves up. Stapleton there in the kind of a fur coat. Joe Heineman there with his hands in his pocket. Father Joe now. There's Santa Claus. Now we're ready to go. Like you take them up to the city hall this year. Want to make them sing a tune or two. Carl Richmond in the middle there, talking to somebody, Joe Heineman beside him. And Jerry Beaver there to be Mrs. Slim Hank now. The guy needs his front teeth, I don't know who that is. That's Joe Heineman right there. Jerry Hank. You all know who that is, I guess. Young Bruce Carter picking on a guy quite a bit bigger than he is. Tom Kelly in the background there, Dick Robinson peeking around the corner. There goes Sandy again. He's got the same old crew in front there, Richmond and Heineman. And the same ones are always up front. Vince McGrain. I think they had a drawing there at that time. These adult people are waiting to see who's going to win. Draw their names out. You'll see someone walk up to get get their prize. John Cannon standing there. Crumbs or two of them there, I'm not sure. There's Ed Strike, he just got his, there he is now, he's just coming up to get his prize. Looks like young Charlie Garman walking under the viaduct there during one of the blizzards there. You younger people, you kind of watch her, you'll see how they move snow in those days. Out of the old west side of town there, the tavern, the blacksmith shop, Hank Cook, Joe Rody. Viaduct was getting his share. Charlie Garman shoveling out. Picture the hospital there and see how much snow in Doc Hastings' car. He forgot to shut the door. Charlie Garman, Joe Heineman. Not sure who this is coming out there. There's Joe Rody. That's the way snow was moved in those days. You got on the end of a shovel and away you went. Jack Aldoff. Snowbank's higher than he is. Oscar Whelan, I think they got him in slow motion. The first town patrol they had. Muriel Weber, Bob Conway. Dick Conway. Dick Clark, that's August Wolf, used to be a carpenter here in town. Paul Smelter, Hayden. Dick Clark and Dick Conway. There's a snowplow in action there. There's the first blower they had. It belonged to the state. They had it in town that year. They're cleaned 272 out here. And then they come into town. They cleared some of the streets. This is up by the old IC church. O'Donnell out taking some pictures. Ed McAvoy. Melvin Punk McGrain, I don't know, he's trying to get in the trunk or what he's doing there, but he isn't getting along too good. Betty Bigley. Jim Kelly. The Cosman children, Davy family. There's Ernestine Richmond and Mary Ellen Richmond. A couple of the kids in there. Another sail view, I guess, up around Equity. One of the drums there. Kid got his corncob pipe going. Alice May Evans. Ray Reinhardt. Got a future pilot there trying out his airplane. Dick Robinson, Beanie Spaulding. Girls are kind of bashful, they're hiding there. That's the old depot that Roy Miller there, he used to help up there some, Frank Schaefer. And Jimmy Smelter driving Hayden's team, Louis Kubisky. Cummings girl, Merrill Martin sneaking into the tavern. Girls are picking on the fellas there with snowballs. Ray Beamer was sunny there when he was a little fella. Looks like out of Motorman, I'm not sure. And then Markham, he was the interstate man here in town. That's the way they did in those days. They had to trim a tree or anything. It was all handwork. Young Carter again down the street in his tricycle. The wrestling guys are. Guy sawing wood there was Wally Smelter. Bullmaster, and he either throwing a guy out or throwing him into the tavern, I don't know which. Joe Hanneman picking on Bruce, or Bruce picking on Joe. Tom Kelly, he was street commissioner for years, did everything the hard way. Shoveled the stuff, he had his Irish buggy there, he got his helper in there with him. Snowball fight there, Carl Richmond in the fort. I don't know who the attackers are. A couple of guys, featured pro football players. And a Sunday girl, Dean Sunday. Robbie Carter's Sundays there, I think. Getting prepared for an attack there in the middle of the fort. Teachers from the Elma public school, they used to come up to town to the little cafe there by the bank for noon meal. Charlie Garman going with the mail. Norm McDonald coming in the post office. Coming out. This is Doc Carter. And Bruce. Charlie Garman had a motorcycle there, and he tried her out in the wintertime and give somebody a ride on their skis. Wild animal trainers there, I don't know who they are. Mary Colas. Tom Kelly. Full uniform, Leah Ford. Hazel there, the other one was Lillian, I guess, her sister. Doc Hastings. Holy Dickman. Tom Berry, George Sullivan, Iarian, Wismer from Alta Vista. Looks like Young Sunday there, I'm not sure, maybe it is. Harold Brown, I'm not sure. Leo Heineman. Louis Fisher. I think that's Merle Hayden there. I don't know what he was doing in the office there, but there's Ed Richmond, George Evans, Larry Lentz, John Lentz's dad, and Young Sunday, Ed Lentz. Girls, I don't know whether they're digging a hole or planting something there, the teachers down by the public school. Markham and his sister Marion, Holy Dickman, Marcella Gardner, her sister. She's none now. There's Willard Deesberg and two of the Teely boys. There's Strasser, Raj Mariska, Charlie Pantier. He had his own brand there. Part of his ear was gone. That's Herb Haberman. Frank Fensel used to be mayor. Frank Church, he was mayor at one time. Merle Markham, Harry Bardeen, Frank Church. Harry was a painter here. And Charlie Garman, John Showalter and his wife, the Earl Showalter's parents, hardwares, contractor. This is an Alta Vista, I think. They decorated their own cars then. They didn't have the ready-made floats like we have now. They went to a lot of work. They had a real nice parade. Most of them have their name on, you can see. This is where we're at a little loss for identifying people. Deepsy there used to run the locker, we know that. He grinding the meat there. Alta Vista Creamery. The guy with his pet pig. Lawrence Allen's has to be with the big black hat and the team of horses. And Wismer and Swella crew. Charlie Cash Grocery. Tom Farrell, the horse for the lumber company. Zollers Beer, one of the taverns, I don't know which one. Reinhardt Service. Bernie Weber's. Elway Marr driving that team, I don't know whose they were. I think it was Produce thing. Garden Club. Foresters. Evangelical Church. Lots of bicycles here. A lot of these young guys, we should know, I guess we don't. Young girls, baby buggies, doll buggies. Commercial club. Model T there. Needs a little shove, I guess. John Moreski there used to work for Reinhardt Station. Willie Cashman. Bobby Hinches. He's throwing a coin or pretending he's throwing one. Herman off. One of the Hinches, either Paul or Randall, I'm not sure. For the ball players there to Monsky, I don't know his first name. Charlie Lucas in his younger days. Mahoney, Ed Mahoney. The Ed Kemp, they used to run the film station there. Norby Olheim. Mahoney again. Kid Pepin's daughter, giving him a licking, I don't know which. Out of Steinhaus, he used to move some trucking around there. light kids. I think they said it was Roland and Bobby Hinch is shining up the oil truck. Bobby's special car there that he played around with. Norville Hahn, Joe Mingus, and Nina Stevie. They were the bank, ran the bank in Alta Vista. Bill Tyler, Harry Tyler, barbers. And going into the hardware there, they used to oil harness in the spring of the year, and there's Pete Johan, who ran the tavern on the north side of the street there. One of the Reinhardts, Lozo, I guess. Pete Hinches and Merle Jacoby. Joe O'Neill. Tom Farrell, is it?
Boy, did you say?
Said it was Augusta, I guess. Ray Beamer resting himself. Fancy outfit there. Doc O'Connor used to be the MD down there before he moved to New Hampton. Reinhardt cleaning up the windows and the Munchie there, checking the air in the tires. And Lawrence Sullivan used to run the tavern there, burned down years ago. Linus Daly sitting there. She was again. Joe Mingus was locking or unlocking the bank, I don't know which. Women all posing for pictures there. Marion Cashman. Tom Burns. Mahoney. Hopkins. Billy Dickman. And Mrs. Albert Loft there with the kids. And B. Colas. Elmer Yoakum there. Sam Kearney. Earl Hayden. Getting the panel ready for the stage show. Albert Heineman. Aaron Vandermatt back there by the building. Virginia Merrick just walked by. And Al Tillman. One of the Beamers, I don't know, Leo or Ed, whichever the one. Mrs. Picto. That's Garrett Oldman Sr. Tom Berry. Linus Daly. hardwares and those talking about something or nothing. Tyler's. Jim Robinson. Betty Stevenson. Walt Tierney with his back to you, I'm sure. That looks like a Johan there that's stretching the rope. Lawrence Allen's giving him the signal. He said this is when they used to have the creamery picnic out southwest Alta Vista there. The women showing you how to chase the chickens.
She has a dog pack.
Yeah. Boys were all in pretty good shape those days. You try that now, there'd be 100 hernias with them.
You got that one right.
Lenny Recker in the background there. Knox and Walt Tierney and Amby Mahoney there. Didn't bother with any tools there. Dudley Straussy lived in town here. He little cow he pasture out on the west edge of town every day while he had that ritual. He'd take her out and bring her back in the evening. Ronald Frank going to work. Worked in the grocery store for years and years. Merle and Marion Markham. Moving right along there, it's hard to tell who they all are. Very Conway. Gap, he was postmaster. Ed Beecher used to haul the mail from the depot down to the post office. Mariska worked over at the Skelly station. Earl Hayden. He's in Richmond. Doc Longstreth. Tom Sullivan. Goslin, Gary Pardee, Frank Schaefer, Depot agent. That was Harold Kelly there with
I believe it was.
yeah.
Old Hank Crum just went in.
Yeah.
There he comes out again.
Down the street. Art Berglund, he ran a used car lot here south of about where Conway's, where your store was there. Charlie Garland. John Lyford there with the white hat, he's superintendent of schools. Eric Bloom, he ran the Elma Memorial here for a number of years. Frank Church get his daily supply of cigars, and Ella O'Donnell and Abe Goslin. Little sparring match there. Colonel Mark looks like that's Alfred Heineman. Esther Kelly, she was camera shy. She was kind of height. Harry Bloom playing ball with some of the boys. Kids having a ball game down the Bobby schoolyard. Says that's Billy Helms there that's doing the pitching. Rod Mariska and his brother Jowl. For hire and over in the filling station.
God, he was slim and trim in those
Yeah.
days.
50 years ago.
Kind of went to pot there, didn't he?
We all did. John Cannon used to run the store up block north of the KC along there. A.B. Cosman. And the MD store, and that was Art O'Donnell there. Lil Beaver. And Elda Miller. That's John Mahoney there. That's Norm O'Donnell. Lid Arian there, they're getting her in the picture. Don Murphy when he was barbering into Heine's. Miller Barber. They say that's Lyle Hart, the cowboy. John Volcotty having a big visit there with Frank Pencil. Gerald Bowmaster. Volcotty in the middle. Barney Ridge fixing the windows over in the Cavazos store. Ray Heineman painting trim on the windows. And getting the car washed. One of the Habermans there, they ran the creamery where Jerry Farmershine, that's the Elma grocery crew, Pearlie and Mabel Beckman and Agnes Budke and Bob Conley. Harry Conley, postmaster at one time. Shining the windows here where Whitinger's insurance is now. Abe Cosman's kids. Reed Elwood. Attorney Tim Cashman. He had the old cafe up by the equity there. He started that. Vern Cavazzo. Hank Cook. Doc Lobster. John Leifert. Lindy Kobiski, another sale. Wade Clark. Andy Bach. Don Warner, holding a horse for someone. John Mahoney. Rex Waukee. Marion Cashman, Marion Martin. Leon Schaefer, Kramer. Ed selling whatever he's selling. Ray Beamer looking on. Called off girl. That's me holding the horse. The one we raised, if I remember right. Miller there, and there's Fred Bartles and Fred Strike. John Leifert standing there, August Loud. Gladys Reagan, Joe Razak, Margaret Kirchenbach, Heiberger, Clint Kelly. Esther hiding again. One of the Riches or Crum, Bert Keith. Joe Morfeld. George Powers. Annie Prospectful and Mrs. Earl Kelly. Guy Arian. And the Mulish there. Bruce having a little trouble with his wheels are spinning. Charlie Garman doing his thing down at the ball diamond. Norm Conway training his dog, or Norm O'Donnell training his dog.
Wonder if that wasn't old Bill Gingerly's Buick there.
Ed Richmond. Ole Dickman. Charlie Garman. Willie Cashman. Frank Schaefer. Roy Miller and Merrill Markham. Hopkins. Cruelty to animals there. I don't know who's doing it. There's Alex Gable. Pfeiffer, and some of them spectators, Gene Bigley, Gerald Foxpeckle. That lady was one of the teachers, and nobody can remember who she was. The street carnival up here, Main Street. Dad trying to get his nose peeled or something there. And we got a lady here that shows you how to keep slim, I guess. Pretty good teeth there, the way she was going on that. Roller skating exhibition here. Somebody from the audience is getting a ride. Myrna Kelly, be Lucille Clark's sister, doing her thing. Pop drinking contest there isn't just drinking, they sucking it through a nipple. The guy got done anyway. Pie eating contest, that's
Bum Hens with his hair sticking up
a little
right
mess
there.
here. Done all off as the winner the way it looked. Bum Hensy. There's Bill Kirkenbach and Jimmy Ruskin. Pat McGrain. Missy Rimrod was one of the boys. That was Cyril Finch, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. There's Mary Seavey again.
Margaret Heidelberger, Larry Lentz, and Charlie Sullivan. Pinky Markham. Oscar. Alfred Heineman, one of the servicemen there. Air Corps flying over.
Or we may start a dairy.